in order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire for a safe and secure society.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
This is where liberty dies.
To thunderous applause.
With the help of Elon Musk
and Jar Jar Binks,
America will be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
Actually, now that you brought that up, I love the parallel of Elon Musk and Jar Jar Binks. As like, the stooge.
Oh, I thought you meant as they both have Asperger's.
Well, Kaylin, we did it. We're here today.
Yes.
It is November 9th. So things have changed. Well, not really yet.
Not yet.
But we're about to review Children of Men, which is about to just be like a documentary.
Yeah, seriously.
So that's what we're up to today. Kaylin, when we were making our apocalypse movies, Children of Men was one of the ones that you brought to the table. I had not seen it before watching this for this podcast, so I'm curious, what is your history with Children of Men?
I actually first watched this movie like last year, and I was pretty blown away by it, and I was shocked that I had never seen it before. I feel like that's a trend with me recently, where it's like I discover something, I'm like, why the hell have I never seen this? It's a brilliant piece of filmmaking, and the scope of it is very massive, and it's just really well done, and it's a powerful story. The acting is great, really great cast. Yeah, it's just one of those pieces of like films like where it's just like, I don't know, that really hits you when you watch it. It's just very powerful, and I loved it, and yeah.
Yeah, it's a real 2x4 to the face of a movie. From the very start, I knew I was going to love this movie when we open, and it's Clive Owen in the coffee shop,
yeah,
and everybody's watching the newscast of like so Children of Men is a movie about for the last like 18 years or whatever, there had been no babies. All of a sudden, like the women were barren and nobody could have a baby, and eventually Clive Owen meets up with this one woman who miraculously has a baby, and it kind of turns into a road movie after that. Mm-hmm. But at the very beginning, we're watching, a bunch of people are in this coffee shop watching this newscast about baby Diego, and he's like this like 18-year-old celebrity who's like the last baby born on Earth.
The Homeland Security Bill is ratified. After 8 years, British borders will remain closed. The deportation of illegal immigrants will continue. Good morning. Our lead story.
The world was stunned today by the death of Diego Ricardo, the youngest person on the planet. Baby Diego was stabbed outside a bar in Buenos Aires after refusing to sign an autograph.
Witnesses at the scene say that Diego spat in the face of a fan who asked for an autograph. He was killed in the ensuing brawl. The fan was later beaten to death by the angry crowd. Born in 2009, the son of Marcelo and Silvia Ricardo, a working-class couple from Mendoza, he struggled all his life with the celebrity status thrust upon him as the world's youngest person.
Prior to like everybody going barren, in that he'd been murdered, I believe, or committed suicide, or
he was stabbed or something.
Yeah, he was killed, and we watched this, so perfect like scene setting, exposition without having to sit down and have an exposition guy.
Yeah.
And then he wanders out and the camera follows him, and a lot of what's great about this movie is the camera work. Camera kind of shakily follows him as he goes out, and you watch him like pour some whiskey into his coffee. Character note, we're learning stuff about Clive Owen already.
He's a drinker.
And then coffee shop blows up behind him and the camera like swings around and he ducks, and all of a sudden chaos.
Yeah.
Cut to I think the title card, Children of Men. Boom, powerful opening.
Yeah.
It's really great, and I knew I love it. This is a film by Alfonso Cuarón. He is a director you might know for Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Gravity.
Yeah.
Roma, I think, is a movie that he actually won Best Picture for. I have not seen Roma. That is a Netflix movie. And this must be one of his things, at least as far as Gravity is another like technical achievement. That's what everybody said about Gravity, is that it was like really interesting in the technical aspects. This is a much better movie than Gravity.
Absolutely.
Gravity has its own benefits, but it's not a movie that I think stood the test of time the way this one does.
Yeah, for sure. I just the overall bleakness of the world is going to be a theme for this month. We're doing Nuclear November, and the worlds in post-apocalyptic films are very they have similarities, but a lot of them can be very different. This one, it's more of like it's under the rule of an authoritarian government. They seize control and they have checkpoints, and people are being carted off to concentration camps and all types of stuff. There's a lot of racism.
Yeah, there's a big like refugee scare and like a lot of like anti-immigrant sentiment, and like when we're around the world, we see lots of signs that are like, you see an illegal, turn them in.
Yeah.
Type stuff posted everywhere. And we should say this is also set in England.
Yes. The government like sends out, I thought it was a super dark little touch, but they send out like suicide kits to people, and it's basically just like a way for you to offer yourself that's pretty humane, I guess. And they just send those out to people, and they're just in these little boxes.
Yeah, we see the little like infomercial that's like, when it's time, grab your box,
because that's the whole thing. It's like, I mean, in a few decades there's going to be nobody left, and it's super bleak movie, but there are those glimmers of hope, and that falls in line more with the themes and stuff. But if we don't have anything else to say, let's jump into the performance test.
The performance test is where we talk about our favorite actors, scenes, characters, and moments.
It was the performance of a lifetime!
Right off the bat, I think Clive Owen is fantastic in this. I had first seen him in a Spike Lee film, The Inside Man.
Yep.
With Denzel Washington, and he was great in that. He's a very underrated actor, I would say.
There was a time in the early 2000s where he was like an it guy that was getting like big parts. He's also in Sin City.
He is, yeah.
Apparently he's in a Bourne movie. But then and I don't know why, and I haven't looked into it, but he kind of just like fell off the radar as far as being like a big time leading man. But he did have a couple like really highlighted roles, like you said, Inside Man. Being another one.
His character is Theo in this, and he was like a former activist, basically. And he has since kind of, I guess, fallen into a little bit of a stupor, as most people have in this world, where he's kind of depressed. He's a drunk. He also lost his first child with his first wife, played by
Julianne
Moore. And so they had separated after the death of their son. And so he's kind of just a man going about his business, going to work, and with no real future, because there is no future. And so you really feel that with this character. And then he slowly finds hope and something to fight for as he goes on in the story.
Yeah, I think he cuts out of work early the first day after we see the coffee shop bombing. He moves on with his day, and he cuts out of work, and he goes to hang with his long-haired stoner friend, Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Which, Kaylin, maybe you can attest to this. Everybody needs a long-haired stoner friend.
I need a Michael Caine friend. Michael Cushing is not doing it for me. I need Michael Caine.
Dang. Well, pull my finger,
You need
Caitlin.
to say the Batmobile.
Shall I fetch the Batmobile, sir?
Master Wayne. The Batmobile.
Michael Caine, you mostly know as probably the guy in Christopher Nolan movies that explains something to you, or like brings the main character to some sort of conclusion that changes the course of the movie.
He's just got a smart voice. He's got a voice that you want to listen to.
And he is great in this movie. And Michael Caine is one of the parts of this movie that I think, while it is a bleak film, dealing with many bleak things, he's like one of the characters that just brings a shining light. And like when you're hanging out with him, everything kind of feels okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
He reminds me of like Vanko, like our other good friend. You just want to be around him because even if you're in a bad mood, he can lift your spirits a little bit. He's also kind of like a anti-establishment guy. Mm-hmm. I guess they were all former activists, I guess, together.
Yeah.
And his role is great. His wife is like a mute. It seems like I don't know if she's in a vegetable state or something, but
yeah.
He takes care of her, and he listens to bizarre fucking music and stuff that's just blaring in his house, and he's a great character.
Yeah, and he grows weed on his little hovel in the middle of the woods where he lives. And then shall we talk about... I mean, there's a lot of like big names that don't... Like Chiwetel Ejiofor is in this movie, who you know from like 12 Years a Slave and from being some bit character in the Doctor Strange movies that nobody could possibly name.
You know, he plays a villain quite a bit. He was a villain in that. You ever seen that movie Four Brothers with Mark Wahlberg and Tyrese?
Nope.
He was like a big gangster villain in that.
Oh, really?
And stuff, yeah. And then you find out he's British.
He's part of this activist group that is aligned with Julianne Moore, but secretly he's like behind the back going to double cross them. We find out halfway through the movie, and he wants to be with this woman with the miraculous baby, and his group wants to take her as like a symbol of the new like their revolution. Yeah. So he has ulterior motives, and he's like Clive Owen kind of finds that out while smoking cigarettes or something in the middle of the film.
Well, because what happened first, you get that great scene with them the bike or the car chase where they get ambushed on the road, and a bunch of, I don't know if they were just like refugees or something. Just some marauders on the road or whatever. And then some bikers come and they start shooting at them and stuff. And Julianne Moore's character bites it. Great fucking scene. It was super tense, super heart pumping.
Yeah, before I'd ever seen this movie, this is like the one scene that the movie is known for. This movie has a lot of long takes, but the one scene that it's really known for is this one where camera's in the middle of the car and people are pouring out of the woods at all sides at the people in the car on the road, and the way that the camera just keeps like spinning round and round to capture everyone's reaction and all the action coming on. You know, it looks out the window as the guy with the motorcycle starts trying to like reach in the window and that type of stuff. And the camera work in this movie in general is crazy, but that is like the scene of this movie.
Impressive.
I knew of this scene before I'd ever actually watched this movie front to back, but that's not the only one. There are several action scenes in this movie that really put like a lot of action movies to shame.
Oh, for sure.
This isn't really an action movie. If you came in expecting an action movie, you will be disappointed in the amount of action.
Right.
But when there is action, it is like kinetic and chaotic, and you are in it.
It's fucking brutal too.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that this movie really excels at, is you're in it.
Yeah.
And Claire Hope Ashity is, let me say that more like a question again. Claire Hope Ashity? This is an actress I've never really seen, and looking at her other films, I have not seen any of them, and she doesn't have a lot of credits, but she is the pregnant woman. Key, who is being brought along, and the whole plan is to like bring her to the coast, and there's some like really, really underground resistance that like nobody really even speaks to, that people like, it's this hazy, like it might not even be real type of thing, but it's this glimmer of hope that they're chasing, and the whole purpose of their mission is to get her to the coast on a boat, and they're supposed to meet a ship off coast.
Yeah. She has some great parts. she is the one shining hope in this entire movie, and it even comes off in her personality, just the way she is and the way she interacts with people. She's very compassionate, and she has heart, and she's brave, and she's terrible at coming up with names for her kid, which is pretty funny. It's just a nice little bit throughout the film. But I really liked her performance. It was very subtle. Yeah, and it's not like she didn't have a lot to do, because she did. She was the whole like driving force of this film, but she just doesn't have as much. I guess she doesn't have as many lines as most people, but she's there and you can feel her presence, and she's, you feel for her. So,
how many months?
It takes 9 months.
I know. Who's the father?
We fed. I'm a virgin.
Sorry?
Chap, be wicked, eh?
Yeah, it would.
Fuck knows. I don't know most of the wankers' names. When I started puking, thought I catch the pest, but then my belly started getting big. Nobody ever told me these things. I never seen a pregnant woman before, but I knew. I felt like a freak. I didn't tell nobody.
Yeah, she's definitely the centerpiece of the movie, and she does excellent work. I want to also shout out Pam Ferris as Miriam, who's this like motherly figure that is part of this resistance, and she's not on board with the like double cross that Chiwetel Ejiofor is planning, and she's really like, she is like the doting grandma, like trying to like lead Key through this whole experience and like talk her through this. She's an ex-nurse at a natal ward, and there's one scene towards the end of the movie where it's this beautiful little thing, because Key is also like a really young woman. She's probably one of the younger people left on Earth too, and she's like sitting out. They're in this old abandoned building, and there's like a little swing set out front, and she's just sitting out there. And the two like elder adults, Clive Owen and Miriam, are talking to each other, and Miriam unfolds her whole story about like the last day, like when the baby's dried up at the natal ward, and she's like, all of a sudden there's nobody there. And I looked at the calendar, and nobody was, booked into the future. And then I called the other hospitals and the other nurses I know, and they said, same thing here. And just like her detailed recounting of like kind of the day one of the end of the world. Yeah. And she like, there's a great line where she mentions something like where as the sound of the playground started dying, so did the world. And like, it was just very powerful. Just a great script. Something like the world is a dark place without the sound of children's laughter. Something like that, yeah. An actor that doesn't actually have a lot to do, but is a named actor. We have Charlie Hunnam. Best known for Jax from Sons of Anarchy, I believe. Jax from Sons of Anarchy. You might know him from the hit Zack Snyder film Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon. I think he was in a King Arthur film or something. He's in King Arthur. He's one and a half of the Pacific Rim brothers. Yes. He's in lots of Guy Ritchie movies. He's in The Gentleman. Lots of white people with dreadlocks in this film. I noticed. Oh yeah, white people with locks were huge in the post-apocalypse. But Charlie Hunnam was just a major asshole in this film. No, he's like just the hothead off the rails portion of this whole resistance fight. Yeah.
What were you thinking? What was I thinking? Do you realize you're putting the uprising in jeopardy? But he needs a proper doctor. Don't you get it? We have a baby. When people see we have a baby, everyone will join us in the uprising. But we can forget about the baby if the girl even suspects we killed Julian. What was I supposed to do? You saw how he is. He's on death's fucking door, Miles. Protocol. He's my fucking cousin.
Peter Mullen as Sid was a great standout. He was so funny.
He's the other guy, and Sid and Michael Caine's character are friends. He's Michael Caine's cop friend, and when he goes to meet him, Clive Owen goes to meet him, he says, "Tell him you're a fucking fascist."
He sells weed to him.
Yeah. But when you meet him, tell him, tell him he's a fascist pig, is what he says. And then Sid, that's like the code word for them to get on board. And Sid is actually sneaking them into a refugee camp, which is some complicated plot stuff. I think it's because to get closer to the coast.
They got to get a boat, and that's the only way they can get out.
There's a contact inside the prison that is supposed to get them a boat.
Yep.
But yeah, Peter Mullen as Sid is really funny. He's just another moment where, like, in this really creaky and could be a really creaky and dreary movie, he is this little ray of. He's just such a character that it distracts from the fact that everyone is like depressed and dying.
He talks in the third person.
Yeah,
he's like, Sid doesn't care.
I love when he and their shorthand for refugees is Fugees.
Yeah.
So he's like making them unload the back of the van as they get into the prison, and he goes like, "Come on, show Sid your Fuji face," and does a little little mopey frown. Make your Fuji faces.
Your Fuji's there. Show Sid the Fuji face. Sad face. Sad Fuji face. That's good. That's good.
But then towards the end, he finds out that Key has had a baby. And so he's like, I heard there was a bounty on you guys' head. Sid is going to take you in and collect the reward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sid is out for him and his.
Yeah.
He is not a good character, but
and gets smashed in the head with a car battery.
Yeah. But he's such a character that he really brightens up this movie.
There's a character I really like, too. Towards the end, when they get to the actual like refugee camp, there's just some woman who kind of owns this I don't know if it's like some kind of like what would be the word for like a halfway house or just a place where people can stay, and she's kind of runs this building, I guess.
Yeah.
She has the dog. I don't know what this woman's name
Well,
was.
the refugee camp is like almost like a Escape from New York situation where they just put a wall around and there's like a shanty.
city.
There's like a shantytown society happening in there.
Right.
And yeah, they're in all the background dealings. There is this one section with like mostly I think like Russian refugees.
Yeah.
That have like built this they have this nice apartment.
Or were they? I think they must have been Arab because there's I think Muslims where they're saying Allah Akbar and like they're doing all that. I think it was like a Arab run community, something like that, or something. I don't know. But this
Some
lady,
sort of foreigner, all the same to me.
Yeah.
Fuji.
No, but this lady, she just happens to kind of join this group, and in such a short amount of time, they kind of form a bond with her because she discovers Key has a baby, and she kind of starts off as like a belligerent woman. She can't speak any English, so nobody can understand anything she's saying. She's just talking constantly, and she's going about her business, but when she finds out Key has a baby, she's like immediately protective.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the one of the whole overarching narrative of the film too is like matriarchy and just like a mother's womanly instincts to protect their children. Mm-hmm. And it's like most of the women, whenever they encounter the baby in this film, they immediately are drawn to it and they're crying or they're trying to touch it. It's just powerful imagery. And I just really liked her little character because at the end, she's like putting them in the boat and they're like, come with us. Like they just have a bond with her. Yeah. Because for the past hour, she's been with them.
That's like night because that.
Yeah. All right.
She like Key's water breaks, and this is the most like maybe harrowing portion of a very harrowing movie. Her like water breaks as she's getting shipped into the like refugee camp.
Yeah.
And she's like trying to make her way to wherever she needs to be while she's like going through major birth pains and contractions, and it's just and it's so fucking dingy where they are and dirty, and you're like, oh my god, they're gonna have a baby here in this like bombed out dusty building.
And then she gives birth, and like Theo's like he's like trying to clean his hands, and it's like this little dirty bucket of water, and he's pouring alcohol on his hands. It was just like, this is such a fucked situation. I would lose my fucking mind. But then the ending action like sequence, oh my god, dude, it was like just so intense. And again, it's like those big long shots, and it's so impressive because there's so many extras. It was it's just such a powerful ending too. Yeah,
there's like a massive fight that breaks out. The military like crashes into the refugee complex, and because a bunch of the like freedom fighters or whatever are also in there, and they're trying to capture Key. And at the moment that the fight starts, Key is actually captured by the freedom fighters and is in this building where there's like a tank rolled up that's just blasting it into pieces. There's like a whole like company. There's like hundreds of like soldiers. And freedom fighters all duking it out. And yeah, we get these like long takes like up the stairwell, down the hall, and there's just like, and inside there's just all these, refugees that have nothing to do with any of this.
Some of them are just like missing limbs. There's blood everywhere.
They're really caught in the crossfire. It's really like, it's on that, this is a movie we didn't cover during our Spielberg series, but this is on the like Saving Private Ryan level of like gritty. You are inside it in it action,
holding your guts in your hand. Action, yeah.
And that's not a thing I say lightly. Like Saving Private Ryan is maybe the it movie for like bringing war and making it feel real.
Do you feel that?
Do you feel that? It's war. So that it's a great scene, and then I love how that scene ends, which is
everybody stops for a second to just look at the baby.
Move back! Fucking move back! Stop! Cease fire! Cease firing! Cease firing!
Yeah, they see they have a baby, and like the two fighting. Well, it's first it starts with all the refugees like kind of making way for her to get out once they realize they have a baby, and they're all like, "Oh my God, protect her, protect her!" And then there's soldiers rushing up the stairwell, and like the first one's like, "Stop! Cease fire! Cease fire!" And everything goes quiet, and everybody just steps aside and lets Clive Owen and Key walk out, with baby in hand,
and then the action immediately starts again.
Yeah, literally like. When they're 10 steps away from everything.
And that's just such a perfect picture of humanity right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's, brilliant. Let's move on to...
It's an Art.
It's an Art.
This is where we talk about aspects of the filmmaking process, like camera work, effects, all those technical details.
What's this?
It's an art project.
Okay, I like it. Picasso. Yeah, that way.
I mean, the thing that jumps out from this movie is the camera work, and it's long shots.
Yes.
And it's like steady shaky cam, which seems like a oxymoron, but it really is. Like, it's constantly feels handheld. It feels like you're on the shoulder of like a newsman that's like wandering behind the person all the time, and you're never like lost. It is very intentional, and it knows exactly what to show you, but it has this really... It just adds this gritty realism to all the like battle scenes. That's really when it stands out. Or like at some of the opening scenes, like the opening scene that I calls Clive Owen out and then whips back around to watch the explosion.
Yeah.
It just, that's where it shines. And when you get it, you're in the movie. It's so tactile,
Well, the car scene, the car chase scene really reminded me of Fury Road a little bit.
Just... Because it's a bunch of people marauding a car.
Yeah, basically that, but also just the camera work too. Because Fury Road also has those scenes where you're just in the car and you're like gazing out, and people are riding up to the window and shoving something in the car, like pushing a gun through, just different stuff like that. It adds to the intensity factor so much. Another thing too, along with the camera work, that I feel like both of these things go hand in hand, is the sound design of this movie. The sound design is amazing. The explosions in this have a punchy feeling. The gunshots feel sound realistic, and it's just a nice pop, and you feel that too. Sound design is great, and I think that's a big reason why this film works, because like you were saying, you are in this movie, you are in this world, you should feel all of that around you, and it almost like encompasses you as you're watching. And so the sound is a big part of it. Just brilliant work.
Yeah, the sound design in that scene that we were talking about where they walk out is great because we've been in this chaotic, pitched battle. People are screaming at each other, gunshots, cannons.
Yeah.
And then it snaps silent, and all you hear is like the baby crying.
Yeah. Isn't there like a soaring like music too?
Yeah.
Like, and then the music cuts as soon as the violence happens again.
Yeah.
The look of the world is also really great. There's still remnants of society that are there.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that a lot of post-apocalyptic movies don't do. It's usually post-apocalypse after the bombs are dropped, when there's few people left on Earth. This is still like society is trying to function.
Yeah.
And you also have this like fascist regime that's running everything, and you feel their presence too, because it's like when they were driving away from the attack, they're getting followed by the police, and there's like real fear from the police. Like they are absolutely terrified of them, and I feel like more than the people that were attacking them. It's just because they have history with these people, and they know what they're capable of, and they control everything, and you just feel that presence. Also, when they were on the bus heading to the camp, the soldiers are just so viciously mean. Yeah. And demeaning to them, and it's some scary shit, because I mean, there have been people like this in real life too. So
worse,
if not worse. But yeah, and so one thing I had kind of realized watching this, The Last of Us took a lot of inspiration from this film, and you mentioned to me when we were talking once that it's kind of a ripoff. And I was like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it
like,
is.
Literally.
Well, they ripped off the most famous scene of Children of Men for the opening scene of The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Like, it has the exact same, we're spiraling around the inside of the car action sequence.
I mean, I guess you could see that as like an homage.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a blatant ripoff, because The Last of Us is great in its own context.
But then it's this whole game / now show that is about... There's this one special girl that has the key, that might have the key to, saving the world.
Yeah.
And we need to go from here to there.
And you have the reluctant guy that's going along the journey.
Yes, that has some maybe a tragic past, but still has fatherly instincts.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, guys.
And then the road that we'll get to next week.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same thing, too.
Yeah. It's The Last of Us. Was the meme of the guy looking at the girl's notes, and it's just the road and Children of Men, and The Last of Us is like
and Elliot Page.
That's my bar.
Shit.
He copied my whole fucking flow.
That's kissed me through the phone.
He copied my whole fucking flow. Word for word, bar for bar.
It's like the Joker looking at Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, like, great movies you made there. It'd be a shame if somebody stole your whole flow.
Yoink.
He stole my whole flow, word for word, bar for bar.
And then you got Drake.
The Soulja Boy Breakfast Club interview is maybe one of the most entertaining 45 minutes you could ever spend in your life.
Is that when he tells the story about his house getting invaded?
No, I think that's an earlier one.
Or that's a Vlad TV one.
Yeah, it's a Vlad TV interview. But this is the one that has the Drake, and the one where he's like, I got the Nintendo game. I bought the Nintendo game.
I'm the first rapper to ever have a video game.
How many ringtones did I sell?
It was just like an emulator, too, or something.
It was like literally some shitty knockoff you could buy off like Temu.
Or Alibaba or something.
And that he was... just rebranding.
That's so funny.
Much like our current and future president does with most of his products.
Oh my gosh. Trump Bibles? Made in China. Anyways, Children of Men. Let's move on to, hey, what are you trying to say?
Sorry, Okay, well, I thought we put a double-breasted on you because it would look nicer, I think.
What are you saying? Are you saying double-breasted because I should be wearing some milk duds or something? Because I happen to weigh a little more when I was
was younger and then lost some weight that I'm a little stretchy in the nipple area, and so that then my breasts flap like two large wind socks flapping in the wind even though there's no wind, and I should have something to keep my breasts in so they don't burst out and poke people's eyes out? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm just saying they're on sale this week.
Oh, really? How much? How much are they? $38.99. Okay, well, I'll have that then.
This is where we talk about the themes and ideas. And I think this is where it's important to recontextualize Alfonso Cuarón, Mexican filmmaker. This movie exists in England, but boy, does it have a lot to say about the treatment of refugees and immigrants and just sort of the, shall we call it, racism or xenophobia that is just evident and people lean on in tough times.
Yes. Fear-mongering.
Yes. When things go downhill, people love to point to someone below them and say, well, if just they weren't there, things would be a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, women's reproductive rights.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Kaylin, have you heard about Roe v. Wade?
Oh,
we don't have it anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why I haven't heard of it. Yeah, it's kind of funny how this has kind of imitated reality a little bit, how it's all very relevant in this time of age, and it's very fucking bleak, dog.
Things are bad. 40 monkeys escaped a zoo, and maybe they took that smart people gas.
Oh, my God.
And maybe we'll just have a whole Planet of the Apes, because honestly, that might be preferable.
Dude, there's so many movies that are coming like to real life. Like fucking aliens might be coming too, bro.
True.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Elon Musk, Jar Jar Binks. I mean, come on, dog. Crazy.
You know what this movie really drove home? Childbirth is a miracle. I was watching that birth scene, and I was like, this is... Well, first of all, I was like, it was insane that people gave birth for all of history up until, like, modern...
No, seriously.
Modern hospitals.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the... mortality rate of both infant and mother was much worse until we, like, learned about, microorganisms and making things sterile.
Yeah.
But I was just watching it, and I was like, damn, I mean, I don't know if I have new words to put to this. Many people have thought this thought, but just woman grows baby for 9 months and then brings it out, and it's a new person. Whoa.
There is some doctor in Europe that this was back in the day, had to be like 1800s, but basically he got sent to like an insane asylum because he wanted his staff to wash their hands.
Yeah.
So that's just a funny, like, I don't know. Yeah. Because we kind of mentioned this last time in our last episode about just like our understanding of medical science and different things like that. It's just crazy. Humans are...
I think that was from a movie where they gave that... Some movie I watched recently gave that little spiel about how the man was... asking his people to wash his hands, and they like excised him from the scientific community.
I forget where I heard that from, but that's just a fun little fact, I guess. Anyways, yeah, it was crazy during that scene. I was like, that thing came out of what?
Yeah.
Sheesh, and they were graphic with it. My God.
Oh, yeah. Just hanging there, umbilical dangling, and he's like, that'll be fine. We don't have to worry about that for a while.
And she gave birth to the worst looking CGI baby I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, the baby is not a good effect. That was a little iffy. He looked like Rook in Alien Alien Requiem.
Oh, God. Yeah, so obviously we were going over some themes. Mother's maternal instincts. Yeah. Big theme. Like I was saying, a lot of the women just felt naturally connected to this child whenever they saw it. And I thought that was very powerful imagery.
And it's, a lot of it is, because Julianne Moore is not so much this way. It's like a generational thing. It's like the elder women are like trying to walk her through this. Also, nobody's given birth for 20 years, so people have, maybe only the older ones really know the process anymore.
Yeah, Key said she didn't even know what was happening to her when she first had the signs of being pregnant. She had also never seen a baby before, so yeah, that's to be expected.
Because what I really picture when you say that is the two older, whatever foreign nationality they're from, ladies,
yeah,
in the camp,
yeah,
where they have like the nice apartment, and they're just kind of like doting on her and feeding her oranges and just
singing and stuff.
They're just so excited to like be around this baby, this pregnant woman. Like they really do treat her like a god almost.
Yeah.
Like she's so magical right now.
Yeah. Dang, what was I gonna say? Also, just kind of like a theme with most post-apocalyptic media is just like finding something worth fighting for, finding something that'll keep you going. Because I think that would be the hardest part for me. Yeah. If I was ever in a post-apocalyptic future, I'd be like, "What the fuck am I even doing this for, bro?" You know?
Yeah.
Check out early.
The maybe the least believable part of this is that like people are still like trying to go to work.
Right.
20 years into this, it seems like we would, the existential crisis would be hitting much sooner. I mean, maybe humans' instinct is to just, stick to people love patterns and repetition and having a schedule generally.
And that makes you feel safe.
Yeah.
But also, if you remember, there was a scene where he meets like he had a rich buddy or something.
Yeah.
And that guy was basically saying, because Theo asked him, he was like, "Why do you keep doing this? Like, what's the point if it's all going to be gone in 100 years? And he was like, "You know what? I just don't even think about it." And I feel like that's how most people would probably handle it.
Yeah.
Just try to go about their everyday business as best they can. So.
And yeah. People are bad.
Yeah.
That's a frequent apocalyptic thing. Oftentimes there's a monster. There's no real monsters in here. All the monsters are humans. But even when there are monsters, often the monsters are humans. Yeah. In any like zombie fiction. I mean, one of our favorite movies, The Mist, that's just an apocalypse speed run overnight in one grocery, in one grocery store.
The 5 stages of grief.
And yeah, even the freedom fighters are shitty. And, they are manipulating this woman, and we're just going to try to basically lie to her to keep her hostage inside this house and then have the baby be their symbol for their own purposes.
Yeah.
So, like, there's no good guys. Like, Clive Owen kind of is the good guy and the few people they meet along the way.
Right.
Michael Caine, the homeless lady in the camp. Like, there are some people along the way. Miriam is one of them, but for the most part, like, people devolve into the shittiest versions of themselves.
For sure.
As soon as anything hits the fan,
which is very much in tune with real life. I mean, I remember during the pandemic how people acted over toilet paper, so I could imagine how it must be when women stop having babies.
I've seen those Black Friday videos, and that's just for like 40% off a television.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah.
$20 off a toaster.
That toaster is mine! Give it to me!
Kaylin, you need to watch Thanksgiving because it starts with a Black Friday riot.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That goes to the nth degree.
Well, luckily Thanksgiving is in 2 weeks, so I have an excuse to watch it.
You can just watch it in real life, probably. Go to your local Best Buy.
Yeah, let's move on to Let the Hate Flow Through.
This is where we air out our annoyances and our complaints.
Good. Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
One thing I kind of noticed is that this movie moves very fast. It was actually a lot shorter of a film than I remembered it being. And some of the pacing was a little off because I just kind of felt like you're going from one thing to the next and you don't really have much time to breathe. I know specifically when it comes to like the action scene in the car is a big kind of something that I think of when I think of that, because just a second before that they were kind of playing a game and you kind of see like these bonds starting to grow between the people, and it doesn't seem very warranted because like Theo just met them, but he's also kind of a charismatic guy, so I could kind of see that maybe being more in line with his character. But they're playing the game with like the ping pong ball and stuff, and he like spits it at Key, and they're just having a good time, and then immediately cuts to action, and then Julianne Moore's character is dead. And it's kind of setting her up to be like at first it was setting her up to be like maybe she was going to be a key part of the film.
Yeah, one of the gang.
Yeah. But obviously this is not that type of film, and it very much subverts your expectations to the point of like you don't know anybody is expendable after that.
Well,
you know?
also, yeah, because she's like, what, maybe the second most famous person in this movie?
Yeah.
So when she shows up, you expect her to be there for a while.
Right.
And she's not. She's not. She gets about like 40 minutes of runtime, maybe.
Sure. It wasn't as bad as like Bryan Cranston in Godzilla kind of thing. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just thought the pacing was a little off in certain places. I thought it moved very quickly. I would like to have seen a little bit more of a bond between Theo and Key, and just a little bit more, because Theo starts off as very cynical, and it kind of, I mean, obviously after he discovers that she's pregnant, that's when he starts to turn. But I would just have liked to see a couple more scenes where it's just those two characters just together, maybe in some quiet place where they can just kind of talk.
Well, next week we're going to review The Road, which is a movie that is like almost entirely two characters sitting around and, you know, like having those moments.
Yeah, sure.
So we're kind of on two different ends of the spectrum with this movie, because this movie, it does take some shortcuts. I believe the narrative reason where they kind of form this bond quickly is Julianne Moore's character had already told Miriam that, like, if anything happens to me, Theo is the guy to trust.
Yeah.
Like, Theo is the one.
Right.
So I think that's kind of their narrative shortcut to, like,
that bond being built.
That bond there being there, and that Julian knows, since they are exes together, right? Yeah. They used to have a relationship and they lost a baby together.
Yes.
So she knows that emotionally he's gonna, you know, step up to the plate when needed.
Right.
At least that's what she believes and what she wants to believe about him, and she turns out to be right. So I think that it does that work. I disagree with you. I didn't really have anything written down for this. I think it's kinetic in this way, where, like, I like that it interrupted this bonding moment to like blow it up in your face,
right?
And be like, nope, we don't have nice times here mostly.
Yeah.
The only real nice time we have is when, and I think this is the character bonding moment. Although you're right, Theo doesn't really spend the time with them. Is when we stop at Michael Caine's place with the whole crew, and like there's that scene, it's like Theo like walks off to like smoke a cigarette, and he's like hanging out in the corner and he's drinking, and over in the side of the frame we see Michael Caine being like, yeah, smoke this weed, and he's like hanging out with Miriam and Key.
He's talking about his son,
or
Theo's son and stuff.
Yeah, and we get these like character moment by proxy through Michael Caine, and Theo's just kind of there taking it in the background, unknowing to everyone else. And there is plenty of heart. Like, man, Michael Caine, his passing in this movie is tragic.
Yeah.
And horrific. But even the moment before that, what turns into a laugh / jump scare, is when they return to Michael Caine's house, he finds Michael in a chair next to his wife, and he sees the suicide pack box on the floor, and Clive Owen's like, oh Jesus, oh no. And then he like touches his face or like checks his pulse, and Michael Caine's like, he's just laying there asleep.
But even he carries that into his death too, where it's like the pull my finger thing.
Yeah.
When he gets shot, he like chucks a rock at the guy. He's like, fuck you, man, or whatever. Like, he's an anarchist through and through. You know
He never switches up. He never grovels. He never ceases to be strongly him.
Right.
So, and that's really lovely. So yeah, I didn't have a lot to say. From the jump, I thought I realized I was going to love this movie, and I did.
Well, that's great. I'm glad I could recommend it to you.
And also, Kalen, I feel like you're the guy that's always like, movies are too long.
Well, no.
So how can you be happy?
I need some middle ground here, okay? No, I that's really just like, I just noticed that some of the scenes kind of jumped around a little bit.
Yeah.
And just from a editing perspective, I thought that maybe some scenes could have been just slightly longer.
Yeah.
Spent just a little bit more time with these characters. Just a small gripe.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the film is a masterpiece. Let's be real.
Yeah. I think you're right in the sense that you never get to take a breath, but I think that's the point.
Right.
We never get a breath.
Yeah.
Whenever we get, like, there is a couple breaths. There's that moment with Michael Caine, but then, turns left, and there's, like, our moments in the nice apartment in the refugee camp. Those are, like, our few couple breaks from reality.
But even with that, like, one part I loved about that scene was, like, you're in this nice little cozy apartment, and you have these characters sharing this moment, and then you just constantly have a view of the outside world, and there's people marching down the street, or like a convoy of soldiers going down the street, and then you see like rebels up on top of the building with guns, and they're like getting ready to attack. You just know shit's gonna pop off, and it was just like, yeah, like you were saying, this world is just never safe. Even though you find these little moments of reprieve and stuff, it's just, yeah, it's not lasting. So, yeah, great little touches.
Shall we ask our final question? Is this a perfect movie?
You lost a baby brother. Perfect in every way.
I had a baby brother. I had a little baby brother. And he was perfect. Perfect in every way.
Easy yes.
Yes.
It is a great movie.
Hell yes.
I would recommend it to anyone. I would say it's more relevant than it's ever been, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And, I have no gripes. It is really great. It is really gripping. It is one of those, I put my hands up and do the Martin Scorsese, this is absolute cinema.
Yes.
Type of films.
Yeah.
You're gobsmacked. It's like a punch in the face. It's like a punch in the solar plexus where you can't catch your breath and you're just doubled over and you're just like, for like a minute and a half. That's like this whole movie.
And then you give birth.
And then, yeah. And they're saying, breathe and push, breathe and push, breathe and push.
Yeah, the performances are fantastic. Music is great. The sound design is good. You get those emotional feels. I got a little misty-eyed towards the end with the baby coming out to the soldiers, and it's all great.
We didn't even mention the very end.
Oh, yeah, with Theo, he bites it too.
Yeah.
And but there is that glimmer of hope still.
We just see the boat coming through the mist.
Yeah.
As Key is sitting there thinking, am I finally alone? Nope. Hope has arrived, maybe.
Hope has arrived. But you never know. You know?
They could have been like fucking angry pirates for all we know. Like, given the way this world has been.
Thank God they didn't make this into a franchise.
Oh, yeah.
Because this does have...
Childrens of men?
Oh, God. Or the sequel is Children of Women.
Yeah.
They just totally missed the point.
More children of men.
No, because this is like one of those films where it sets the film. It's very ambiguous, the ending, and so it sets itself up for more. Or you could even go back to like when shit first popped off. You could have a series on Netflix about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm just so glad they didn't go that route, and that nobody has picked it up 20 years after the fact.
The rise of the kingdom of the children of the men.
Of the bump on the log.
Of the bump on the log and the hole in the bottom of the sea.
Yeah, thank God that didn't happen. Who knows? It might, but also I think like films are probably going to die in the next 5 years, and we'll be watching Trump just speak constantly.
It's just a 24/7. We're going to have our 1984 box.
Yeah. We're going to be having fucking Geico ads going on in our brains while we try to sleep. Thanks to Elon Musk.
They will be Tesla ads.
All right, Tesla, not Geico. Yeah. I recommend this film to anybody, like Michael said. If you haven't seen Children of Men, definitely check it out. Next week, we'll be doing The Road.
Grandchildren of Men.
Yeah, it just keeps going.
Great grandchildren of men.
Children of children. That's not a good name.
Kids of dads.
Kids of dads. Children's of dads.
Sons of Anarchy. Wait.
Oh, wait.
Wait. That's a different thing. Starring Charlie Hunnam.
I just always remember the line from this show where Jax is trying to like speak to his girlfriend like dotingly, and he's like, every time I'm inside someone, I only think of you. And she's like, oh my God, so sweet. Yeah.
What?
Like he's talking about every time he has sex with somebody, he thinks of her.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah.
But what?
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any fucking sense. But she's like, oh my God, he loves me.
Well,
that show was terrible.
I'm glad that worked for them. Good for them, I say. All right, until next week, where we cover another depressing
Look
movie.
forward to this all month, guys.
Are we having fun yet? Oh no, he's got the... Kalen's got the cough. It's the cough you have at the beginning of a movie.
Oh no.
And you're going to be dead by the end of it.
I'm going to have to leave my son on the beach. Because that's
fucking Guy Pearce jump scare. I was like, ah!
I'm going to have to hold what's his name at gunpoint to make him strip completely naked.
Oh yeah, R.I.P. the Wire guy.
Oh yeah, he's dead. Never mind, I can't say
that. All right, bye.
Demetrius, you are nothing but a low-down, dirty liar. Stop keeping my baby from me. You know damn well I'm Amaya's father, and I will prove it today. You yourself told me I'm the father. Straight out the horse's mouth. And did you forget you asked me to be at the hospital with you when you went into labor? You should be ashamed of yourself. The fact that you can look your daughter and I every day and lie, that's disgusting. When the results prove that I'm the father, guess what, honey? I'm going to be in your life forever. Dad is coming home.